M2 bros, we're gonna go out for a little rip around the block, or, you know, proverbial block, in the M2CS. I now have exhaust. We'll talk about that, which I'm struggling with, trying to figure that out. The suspension setup, I need to do a little bit of tweaking to the front. There's like a little bit of a clunk. I think I know what it is. It's a simple fix. And then I'm still waiting on the carbon tune. Who knows? I mean, carbon seems to be a bit not super organized. So I don't know what's up with that. You know, we ordered it 7 months ago, something like that. But the car in general, man, you know, I had the BBSs on here, which don't fit with the big calipers, with the deflection. I mean, there's like, you can slide a sheet of paper in there, but it's just too tight for any kind of deflection, and so it would hit the, you know, the barrel of the wheel, because there's no drop center on those RIDs. The offsets are okay, I mean, for BBSs, but it's no go. So if you want to scream and deal, if you have like you know, an N55 M2, they would look fantastic on there with the, you know, with the regular, the non-mega brakes that the comps and the CS have. But it, you know, the car from a look perspective, I mean, it would be hard. I think it'd be hard to make a car that looks better than this thing looks now. I actually love it with the black wheels. It's you know, not super low, but relatively low. I was a little nervous about swapping the suspension on this because the CS suspension is so fantastic, and I would say that it is definitely an upgrade. It is definitely an upgrade going to deleting the EDC, going to the Öhlins. The car feels fantastic. Steering's great, you know, for electric steering, but the steering's great. The balance of the car is fantastic. You know, we basically dialed in like a 1/10 or 2/10 of a degree more camber than what we had on the stock. If I had the car longer, I think I would do a short shifter, but I don't want to mess with it. It's one of those things that, you know, I don't want to put it on, have to take it back off. Plus, I can't get one in time. Auto Solutions generally takes, you know, 4 to 6 months to get one. So it's just not, you know, practical for me to get a hold of one in a reasonable amount of time. But you know, the car's ready to go. Tint is great. The paint is pretty good. There's a little bit of weirdness, cloudiness underneath where the PPF was on the roof that there's not really much I can do. There's also some, you know, some defects from the PPF removal. I said this almost like stretch marks from removing it, like the adhesive not releasing and then, you know, causing the paint to pull a bit. Hard to see, but, you know, it's there. But, you know, it's a used car, and that's sort of what you expect on a used car. Shoot, I had some of those weird things on my GT4 new, where it had like these weird little striations in the paint from, who knows, from the removal of the adhesive, or the removal of the, you know, the film that they put on the car to protect it. Man, but it is just super balanced. So let's talk about exhaust, which I knew would be a sore subject for me. So this car had 40 or 3,800 miles on it or something. So less than 4,000 miles when I bought it. Paid a premium for it. I bought it from a Lamborghini dealership in Sarasota. It's the only one of this color in the country. and for sale at the time. It was about $15,000, maybe $20,000 less than all the other cars that was similar mileage that had, they all had carbon ceramics. So the carbon ceramics was adding a significant premium. So I came up with the idea, why don't I just get the car, pay 20 grand less. It'll be a fun project to do a carbon ceramic swap, which you saw me do. So we swapped to carbon ceramics, wanted to see what that was like. It was more involved than I was bargaining for, in that we had to do the brake booster, we had to do some coating, we had to do all kinds of pedal adjustment. My friends at PSI did the final adjustment for us because they've done so many of those swaps. But this is the difficulty of buying a car that looks brand new. I mean, I wouldn't think it would have been modified. Well, we think that the person who owned it before tried to boot mod it or tried to MHD it. They tried to tune it. And post, I believe it's October 2020. So October 2020 is when they transitioned to a basically currently almost uncrackable Bosch ECU. And so they didn't brick the ECU, but they caused some funkiness to the car. For example, the efficient dynamics, the shift, the upshift, downshift gauge, it wasn't on. So it wouldn't, oh, these stupid birds. So the only two things I noticed that were wrong was that gauge. I didn't even know the gauge was there, and because it was just off, and there was no and I couldn't tell stock. I've never had one of these cars, this specific car, and so I didn't realize that the valves weren't working. You know, I just thought that's what the stock exhaust sounded like. So the only way to tune this car is to pull the ECU, send it to Finland, have them drill it, crack it, tear it apart, put it back together. Then you could do whatever you want to do to it. I don't want to do that. And so, we flashed the car back to stock, current software update, flash back to stock. Everything runs great, the car runs fine. So there was never a tune on the car. It just sent the ECU a little nutty. But the valves, and the weird thing is the valves would work just fine if on the tool, on the BMW tool, but as soon as you disconnect the tool, even with the updated software, it just wouldn't work. And so what I decided to do was to just simply do, we just did a valve controller. So the valve's still open, so they open, but they won't open on Sport, like on Sport Plus at idle, they'll open. And so right now the valves are operating like stock, so they open whenever you get on the car, like right there, they open up. Or I do have the option with this little controller here, with this little puppy, to open up the valves completely, which makes the car a whole freaking lot louder, but there's drone. So when the valves are completely forced open at all RPMs, this would be, I guess this is kind of best of both worlds, because with the stock valve operation, you don't have full control. The ECU still, opens and closes them a bit. So now I have the option to open them fully. Like right now, they're completely open. Where did that guy come from? And the disadvantage is that when you're cruising around town, if you're on it, so if I was out on a mountain road or something like that, I would open them up and just let it rip. But there's some low RPM drone, not some, quite a bit of low RPM drone, but more than I'm willing to deal with. And so what my solution is, and this is with the Acura rear section. So what I have is stock downpipes, the active equal length mid pipe resonated, and then the Acura rear section. I wanted the Remus, but just kept waiting, nothing. So when I say there's drone, I mean, it's not like obnoxious, like not something you couldn't handle or modulate, but I just think the car sounds better with the, you know, with the valves technically closed and allowing them to transition or open when, you know, when the car, you know, deems it necessary. Or basically the exhaust gases force them open. But even stock, I mean, stock tuning, this car is a freaking monster, man. It pulls like a freight train. It's super nimble. I think it's the right size. It doesn't feel heavy. The way that the power is delivered on this car is pretty great. I just, you know, it's just the sound, the digitalness of it is what makes me, it's just like my F80. I really enjoyed the F80 at the time I had it, but I didn't have like this longing to have it for the rest of my life, you know, like I do an E92. I just don't have that desire, and apparently, you know, because I'm going to be doing a giveaway on the E36, apparently it's hard to please. I'm hard to please. You know, having Porsches and E92, you know, there's a certain type of car that I like, and so I think that, you know, part of the spice of life is the experience and the evolution, the personal evolution, and figuring out what, you know, what car works for me, what I want. Do I want a bunch of cars? Would I rather have just a few cars that I could spend more time with? And figuring these things out, and, you know, it takes some heat from people giving me a hard time about that, but I think it's fun to chase and to make mistakes and to experience things. So right here at like 2,800 RPMs with the valves open, it's a little annoying, but it's not obnoxious. Like, I've had some droney obnoxiousness. So the exhaust, what I'm going to do, I think the solution is I'm going to take the resonators off and do the non-resonated little pipe, and so try that out. And so I think that's going to be the solution for me, is to have this with valves closed. So I close the valves. I think they're closed, and then just have it, you know, get aggressive when I'm on it. And that takes the drone out. Keep forgetting to use the turn signal. Sorry about that. Thinking too hard. So we still have the, what do you call it? We still have the fart. You know, if you're really on it, you have that kind of the overrun in order to keep the car in boost, a little bit of that. The car, I'm surprised, doesn't burble much, which is good. I don't like that. It's for freaking babies, children. The stock setup, stock tune is probably the way to go. The piggybacks have a little bit of a delay, so I don't know that I'm going to love the having to deal with what do you call it? The you know, the delay from the carbon piggyback. Am I coming this way? Can I turn around here? Yeah. I mean, I get why people like turbos. It's just not for me. You know, there's so much tunability to this thing. You could really make tons of horsepower. You know, this thing is pretty reliable at high horsepower. You change the crank hub, but it's such a different car. The turbo of this car just feels, I mean, it's just well done. It's well tuned. It's well done. But it just feels to me, I'm an analog guy. I'm a best of the analog. GT3, GT4, E92 M3, those are my cars. That's my jam. I think I'm gonna build a collection around that concept of best of analog, best of NA. I'm going to try a Gen 2 NSX. I'm going to get one of those and try that out. I'll probably get the new M2. It looks interesting to me. The S58 is I think a better engine than this, even though it's slightly more digital. It has more torque, has similar tunability, and I think it sounds a lot better. We'll find out when I get the G80, how much, having longer term, a longer time with an exhaust on it, how I feel about that. The G80 will be the car for the mountains, but I think maybe, the new M2 could be a better car for me in the mountains. So I'm thinking, I may, get the G80. I'm gonna wait and order, an individual colored M2, and then maybe that would replace the G80 come, a year from now at the mountain house. Because the M2, I think, would be a better, more fun car in the mountains. Even though you wouldn't load up 4 people, it would also discourage people from loading up and going hiking in the car, or going getting muddy and fishing and driving my car to those places. So, I was really kind of bummed about the exhaust because I convinced myself that it was going to be perfection, but actually, it's pretty good. I was kind of stressing a little bit. I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't have time to start switching all kinds of exhausts because they're not available. Wait for that cop to go. But I mean, it's good. I tend to like a little bit more amplitude from an exhaust, but I guess in this car, because of how much I don't like the sound, it's probably a better way to go, to have it so that it's a bit more subdued. It's really not that drastically different in the car with the windows up. It's much more, it's much different. I said much more different. It's much different when you're driving by or you're driving in town, how loud it is with the valves open. But when you're driving around at speed, it's not a whole heck of a lot difference because the valves eventually do open up. So right there, right at 28 to 3,200 RPMs, 3,000 RPMs. There's an annoying drone to it. And it also depends. Like right now I'm driving, it doesn't bother me at all, but if I'm cruising around town, or you had some people in the car, it would be annoying, really annoying. But I can just manage it with gear changes. Or the better thing to do is just to freaking close the valves. Seen a lot of cops out here this morning. I think there's one up there. No. So yeah, I was a little disappointed in the BBSs. I wanted to have a really special thing, but these wheels look so good on this car with spacers. It's just, this thing looks fantastic, and the giveaway's doing well. This car's going to change somebody's life. I keep forgetting to mention. We're giving this car away, giveaway. It's a freaking raffle, trying to make some money so I can pay for this thing. And it's this again held a nice place in my life. If I were to have an M2, despite the fact that it's inferior, I would have an N55 M2. But then again, I would struggle with not having, carbon ceramics and the carbon roof and all of that. So the new M2 is, even though the front bumper looks a little weird, all the aftermarket guys will remedy that. This car is really fast though. Right out of the box. And imagine you did some pure turbos and did some tuning. Oh my gosh. this thing would be insane. But I mean, you're already stepping out in the rear stock. I don't find that I would need a whole heck of a lot more power. Again, it'd just be nice to do a nice little, I think the Carbon Stage 1 piggyback, assuming it's not annoying from a delay perspective, I think will probably be pretty cool. So I'm going to call Sean when I get back and get on that and figure out what the heck's going on. But car's quiet, suspension's great, steering's great, the interior is absolutely fantastic. You wouldn't want to do anything aftermarket in here. The CS interior is so cool. It's darn near perfection. The big fat BMW steering wheel, the Alcantara in the right spots, the deletion of the center console, you know, like the little CS accents on the dash. The thing is really well done. Is this car worth 120 grand? I don't think so, but for 70, sure, it'd be amazing. But, you know, this is the best of a generation. This is the best of the generation of the F87. You had the comp, and clearly the comp is probably the way to go, because you could buy the comp for 70, basically the same car without the carbon fiber stuff. A little bit of suspension difference. Yeah, see right here, when if I was out riding behind someone, I just think the car sounds better with the valves. And you know me and my distaste for valves, but I think it sounds better with the valves closed. And then you get that sort of roll-on turbo spool. It's kind of cool. But again, I think this has served it for me. I think that the giveaway winner will have the same thing, depending on how much you love turbos and love M2s. The person who wins this car will probably have it for a year or so, and then you scratch that itch, take that money, and go get a better, I think, a better analog car. Watch out, squirrel. He's done. But this car inspires me to shift, you know, to roll on the throttle. So it inspires me like a second gear roll to like 6K. It doesn't inspire me to go to red line. Part of it is because how freaking fast you're going, but you know, you get that fartiness. So this to me is more of a mid-range roll to 6K and shift versus, you know, my E92. You know, there's a joy in going to 8,000 RPMs. A red line, so it's 7,500. I think I've gone to red line like 5 times in this car. You know, first gear to red line is, you know, and then that transition to second gear is not really a lot of fun. Where I think the fun is I'm in third gear at 4K, and I just kind of roll into it, and you feel that torque. The Pilot Super Sports on here are a little noisier than the PS4S's, but they're great tires. I don't see the need to change them. I took the wheels off and rebalanced them and coated them and put some spacers on, and thinking I would search for some other wheel. The new, what are they called? The new Apex V something look great on these cars, and they have offsets dialed in. But I mean, these wheels, the stock wheels, look so good. The stock CS wheels. So I just don't want to mess it up. Yeah, I will try it, but I think the ticket's going to be non-resonated with the valves being actuated by back pressure. I guess it would be forward pressure. But yeah, this interior, the seats, the seating position, you know, the M2 is the current car. If the new one's anything like this, with I think a better engine, you know, the new one's probably gonna be a little heavier, but it's gonna have more torque. I mean, it's gonna be hard to beat. So I'm thinking I'll probably order one. I might order one soon. I'm gonna call Tom and get on the list and order. I want to be able to order an individual color. But then again, white is pretty awesome. I hate that fart. Overrun fart. What are we doing here, fellas? Need some tree trimming. So, yeah, I think what this car has done for me is, and part of what I wanted to do in the mountains was to have a car that I could get. You know, the perfect car for the mountains would get a darn GT4, but like a PDK GT4 for the house, so that, you know, people could borrow, you know, rent the car. But you can't get those, you know, and whereas a G80 M3, I could get a G80 M3 every year and get a new one, or a, whatever the new version of the M2 is, G87 M2, I could get a G87 M2 every year and swap them, do a giveaway or sell the old one, and you know, stay in a newish car. And if I get ones that have, you know, special colors, or like the special purple one that I got, it increases the odds of me creating some buzz around it and be able to get out from underneath the cars without a whole heck of a lot of loss. Plus, if I'm renting it, you know, and generating some rental income from it, that'll help to make or cover the cost of the car, cover the cost of the depreciation. Because, you know, depreciation is coming. And probably significant depreciation in cars. So this whole game of, you know, the supply-demand issues that we've had will be solved by ample supply and not a whole heck of a lot of demand, as people aren't going to be able to borrow money to get it because interest rates are rising so rapidly. Even if they can borrow the money, they're not going to be able to afford the payments. And with, you know, chips and things like that, and other countries of the world going back to work, we can hopefully see some resupply of things, which could cause a really significant downward spike, but who knows? What I'm hoping is that it destroys the dealership model, all of the shenanigans that the crappy dealers have done. This whole nonsense argument of, well, you could buy the car and sell it for a profit, so we should get that profit. It's so stupid. They shouldn't be the gatekeepers to especially cool cars. You should be able to go online, build your spec, place your order, first come, first serve. That's the way it should be. The Tesla model. So to win this thing, you can go to obsessedgarage.com. There's a page. You can't just buy anything. I've said this a trillion times. I can't give away 140. I'm 135 or 40,000 into this thing. I can't give away a $140,000 car out of normal sales. I'd just be giving money away. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't generate enough interest or sales to do that. And so what I need to do is sell other things that are higher margin, that are different, to create interest, to create buzz, and it, you know, it's fun. Allows me to do projects, make videos, do cars better than anyone else is doing, and do it. Overbuild or over modify cars, spend too much money on cars like I always do, and get it, you know, and include you and get out of it, you know, at a better than if I were to, because if I were to sell this thing, I'd have to take the parts off, and then I'd have to sell the parts for half of what I paid for them, and I'd sell the car for, who knows, probably less than what I bought it for. This one might be worth about the same, but most cars that I buy would be worth less. Like the E36 that we're gonna do, I'm $150,000 into that thing, and all the repairs and restoration of all the rubbers and plastics and stereo and all that kind of stuff. So I, would never get my money. That car's worth 60 grand, maybe. Maybe I could squeeze 75 out of it. Instead, I could do a giveaway and generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and then hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit to make a few bucks net off of the deal. So that's how these giveaway things work. And then, there's laws that you have to follow, and let's open the valves up for you. The valves are closed. So if you're cruising around and you want to make a racket, they'll certainly do that for you. Even that, yeah, it's just too loud for my taste. There's loud just to be loud, and there's loud because it's cool. This is a, well, at least we have the option to do it if you wanted to. But I think most of the time I would cruise around with the normal valve operation. So that's the M2 update. I'll keep you posted. I'll probably do another couple of these before we are done. I'm gonna install the radar detector here this week. Actually, next week. This week we're gonna be working on our strategic plan. But it's a great car, It's a car that a lot of people are gonna like. I don't need that open. So that's valves closed. It's not remarkably different. Anyway, see you on the next one.